They are throwing a party in Dallas right now. So happy with what they got for Anthony Davis. But why? All they got was salary and some first-round picks. Yeah, but fans are doing backflips right now in Dallas, and I'll explain why. But the trade was the Mavs get Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley, 2 firsts and 3 seconds for Anthony Davis, D'Lo, Jaden Hardy, and Dante Exum. But what are those picks? They happy with that? Well, it was the Thunder 2026 first and the Warriors 2030 protected 1 through 20. And if it lands 1 through 20, it's a second-round pick. What? How is that a good thing? Why are they happy? I will explain, but first, the Wizards. Why did they get AD? Well, this guy, Will Dawkins, took over as GM in 2023, and in that time, he has tore down and rebuilt this franchise. He started by trading Bradley Beal to the Suns, a miracle to get Beal to waive his no-trade clause, and they get off his toxic contract that Phoenix had to deal with. In return, they got Chris Paul and control of 5 first-round picks. He then trades vets for more picks and starts to draft young players like Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, and Trey Johnson. But now the rebuild's complete with Trae Young and Anthony Davis. The idea was to buy low on potentially game-changing stars. And yes, AD is 32 years old, but they paid a super cheap price, plus he and Alex Sarr will be impossible to score on in the front court on paper. But at this point, DC can tank the rest of the season with AD out injured. Projected lineup: Trae Young, Trey Johnson, AD, Alex Sarr, and a top pick in this year's draft. Best case scenario, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer. That is a darn good team, you have got to admit it. But right before the All-Star, so many teams are kind of phoning it in, which is when PrizePicks comes in clutch. Every night I can get my picks in, and it feels like I'm watching the NBA Finals. I am glued to the screen. Plus, with the big game coming up in football, there are going to be a lot of promos on PrizePicks to dig into. My favorite part about their app is it's so easy to use. I just pick more or less on a few players' stats, and I get my picks in. Like my 2 picks for tonight, we're going to go Jarrett Allen more on his points plus rebounds, and then Keldon Johnson more on his points plus rebounds. Best of luck if you are tailing those picks. PrizePicks now available in 45 states, including Texas, where I live, plus California. And if it's your first time signing up, nothing helps out the channel more than using code AMHOOPS. Again, get my picks in. I am just glued to the screen. Winning cash is a bonus. But if you play just $5 with code AMHOOPS, you get $50 in lineups for free, win or lose. So at least this Will Dawkins guy is giving them a shot, right? Like, worst place to be in the NBA is middle of the pack. Bulls, Hawks, playing every year, first round exit, mediocre draft pick. This is a vision. So the Wizards' dream is, we are the next rebuild team to pop. Last few years we've seen it. Thunder jump from 9th to 1st place in one off season. Rockets go from 11th place to 2nd in the West. And this year the Spurs went from 13th last year to 2nd, almost overnight. So is DC the next average to awesome team? Honestly, they're about to have both Trae Young and AD basically in a contract year. These guys are going to play their butts off for a new deal. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Wizards actually do make a major move up the East standings. Now, of course, this rebuild has not been perfect, right? Like, dealing Denny Avdia was dumb, but at least they've got a vision. But speaking of vision, the final tally for Luka Doncic was sending out Luka in Max Christie salary filler, control of basically 3 crappy first-round picks. My goodness, that is sad. But this AD trade was never about fixing the Luka deal, okay? There was no AD move that was going to make the Luka trade better. This was about financial flexibility. Bottom line, having AD on this team stopped them from building around Cooper Flagg. Why? Because AD's salary pushed them way near the second apron. That prevents all kinds of moves. Plus, having 30% of your cap tied up in AD is terrible. Now, they have options. Mavericks open up the full mid-level exception, a $21 million trade exception. They could become a salary dump destination, like taking on a bad contract in exchange for more picks. And they've got picks now for the future. So basically, instead of $60 million for injury-prone AD, you could spread it around. $15 million for a player here, $10 million for a guy there, 10 for a guy there. Maybe one of them hits. But AD was like an anchor around the Mavs' neck that they finally cut loose. So before this trade, they had one option, ride with AD. Now they've got multiple. That is why people are excited. Plus, when AD got hurt again recently, all the trade buzz stopped. It was like, oh, maybe Atlanta, Detroit, Toronto, then crickets. Fans thought they were stuck with AD, but the Wizards just bailed them out. But you really have to feel for Anthony Davis. This man just got traded to the Wizards a few years ago on top of the NBA with LeBron in LA. Now he's a step up from the G League, no offense. But Dallas must have been the most miserable experience ever. I mean, dude gets traded to a place he doesn't want to be in as the face of the worst trade in NBA history. Like all those times people called it the worst trade ever, they were talking about AD. Like, oh, you traded Luka for that guy? Ruined your franchise. He must have felt so bad about himself as a player. Then he gets injured. All he wants to do is like play ball, kind of, prove those haters wrong, but his body just broke down. So I'm sure on some level, even on the Wizards, dude is happy to finally move on from that terrible chapter. But the next question is, what does this mean for Kyrie Irving? Right now, dude is out with an ACL tear and looking great in his rehab. By the time he comes back, the Mavs will have Cooper Flag, rotation players, and hopefully a top pick. According to Tankathon, the Mavs pick right now somewhere around 7th. Now, of course, that could change between now and the rest of the season. Maybe they lose games, improve their draft chances. But it took me 7 spins to land them at number 1, so it could happen. But does Kyrie want to play with a bunch of kids to end his career? Even if it's in a loaded draft, get someone like AJ DeMonsta. Kyrie's 33 years old. Dude has got late prime years left, even off an ACL. I am sure that he would want to be on a contender. So it's not crazy to see him traded this offseason or at some point next year. But the conundrum is the Mavs do need to win games. They need a Kyrie. Don't control their own first-round pick outside of this coming season until 2031. But this is very interesting. Now they control 5 first-round picks overall. Also looking to add more in a Daniel Gafford deadline trade. But look at 2027. Goes to the Hornets, top 2 protected. Interesting. I could easily see the Mavericks wanting to tank again next year. How tempting will it be next season to be like somewhere around the play-in? Then you're thinking, hey, with a little luck, we might actually get to keep this pick. Well, not with Kyrie on the team. So yes, Kyrie is a great player, and there's good vibes still from him and Luka making the finals. He likes Dallas, but there are just too many signs that a trade is coming soon. But now at least they've got options. Now, another underrated thing about AD was his contract. Rich Paul was putting pressure on Dallas because Davis wants a new deal. The Mavs, though, didn't want to commit, but maybe DC is interested. It's the exact same reason that Trae Young said his preferred destination was Washington, to get the bag. So for now, the Wizards are going to audition Trae and AD next year to see if they're worth big money. If not, they didn't invest a ton into either guy, so it's not crazy to just let them walk. Like if Trae or AD don't look great, DC's like, we don't feel obligated to keep you. We don't look like idiots. Not like we traded Luka Doncic to get you. So no, you either take this team-friendly deal or you could go find another team. Or another option is they do play well and get flipped again for even more assets. This is a low-risk plan for the Wizards to elevate their roster going forward. We will see if they come through. But one thing we do know is fans in Dallas are pumped because the rebuild around Cooper Flag can finally begin. But another big trade, James Harden to Cleveland. The Cavs swapped Darius Garland for the Beard. I had a full breakdown of that move and why Cleveland's being so aggressive right now. Some would call it low-key desperate.